Hey world, it's Elliot, also known as Alexis Stone, and in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to apply my brand new collaboration, which is in collaboration with MFX Warehouse. Now, if you have not watched the reveal, I suggest you do that now, because this video is going to be a huge spoiler alert. I also want to say now, I'm going to not only be showing you a very in-depth, step-by-step tutorial on how to apply these prosthetics, but I also want to just add a little disclaimer. There are numerous ways on how to do this. There's no right or wrong way. I'm going to be giving you suggestions on maybe alternative products that are slightly cheaper to the ones that I'm using, because again, this is just a technique that I have mastered over the years. Now, whilst this product is very much a pro product, I don't want people to be discouraged by that. When I first started working with prosthetics, I had never done it before. So you can definitely master it if you practice enough. Whether or not you can become a professional like me, a deception and commitment, I cannot say. But today I'm going to be showing you how to apply my brand new collaboration with MFX Warehouse. So once you receive your prosthetics, you will receive them in a parcel such as this. Now, all you have to do is remove the inside protective packaging and you will see your prosthetics. Now, these prosthetics are pinned into a sheet of foam. The reason this is done is obviously to make sure they don't move once in transportation. You have nothing to worry about. The trimming that the pins are through will actually be removed, discarded and thrown away once you have applied the prosthetics. Now, at this stage, this is very much where I like to do my pre-painting. The reason I like to pre-paint is because I apply these prosthetics onto myself, and it can be a little bit more complicated when you're working just on one subject. So by doing a little bit of pre-painting, it just makes the application a little bit easier for me. I go in with my Skin Illustrator palette. Now, there are numerous palettes you can get like this. This is just a large variety of skin tones and undertones like this. Now, again, I'm going to be leaving links to all of these products down below for you guys to purchase. Now, these products vary from £20 up to £100. I am a firm believer that you get what you pay for. You guys can see there are certain skin tones that I use a lot more than others. However, this is a great thing to have in your kit, whether it's for these prosthetics or whether you're just doing all special effects in general. Now, things you are going to need to apply these prosthetics, okay? First thing, and most importantly, hand sanitizer. If you are working near the face, whether it is on yourself or whether it is on a client, please clean your hands. I think we have learnt that more than ever. So, first product, very important. You're going to need some IPA. My silicone glue of preference is Telesis. Now, this is Telesis number 8. I did used to use number 5, which I believe is now not being produced anymore. Telesis number 8 is relatively similar, if not identical. Now, again, there are so many different silicone glues. This is just the one that I'm used to using. Again, I'm going to be leaving down below suggestions and cheaper alternatives. So that's going to act as my silicone glue. I'm also going to be using some Telesis number 5 silicone thinner. Again, this isn't a necessity, however, I like to have this on standby just to make sure my brushes are clean. You're going to want some silicone glue remover. This is probably one of the most important things, because whilst I do tear mine off purely for visuals, that is not recommended, okay? It's not good for your skin. I am in no way advising you do that, okay? You need to remove it the correct way, which I'm going to be showing you in this video. You're going to need a selection of brushes. As you guys can tell, I have used these numerous times before. The one thing with silicone, and unless you are making sure you clean them regularly, is that it will ruin the brushes. Silicone glue is notoriously difficult to get out. Large flat brush to obviously apply glue on those larger surface areas, and then I have some detail brushes just to go in and finesse everything. You're going to also want little things and gadgets like tweezers. This obviously helps you get under the edges. Cotton wool pads, which come in handy for all prosthetics. I like to have a little bit of alcohol and water 50-50 ratio just at hand as well, just to clean surfaces. This is not a necessity and probably not needed for this, but if you're wearing them for a long period of time, I like to use a product called Pit Stop. Now, this just basically helps prevent you from sweating, which obviously can loosen prosthetics over time. Again, this is not needed. However, if I was wearing prosthetics for a long time, I would maybe just give my face a little douse with that. So, first thing we're going to do is prep the skin, and then we're going to dive straight in with pre-painting. Okay, so prosthetics are set up. First things first, obviously, as I mentioned previously, is make sure you are cleaning your hands with some hand sanitizer. This is very important when you are applying something that is touching your face, okay? I think if we've learned anything, we need to wash our fucking hands a little bit more often. So, once we have done that, I'm going to be going in with my Skin Illustrator palette. As you guys can see, I have been using one color more so than the others, and I'm going to be taking my IPA, which is alcohol, and this is going to activate the paints. Now, I like to just put a little bit of this in a lid. You can obviously put this in anything that you see fit. However, it just makes it a little bit easier. So I'm going to be taking a brush like this, which I have cut the ends off, and this is going to act as our stippling brush. So first thing I'm going to do is just wake some of these colors up by applying some alcohol to them. And I'm going to start by laying down some of the color. And you can see ever so gently, I'm just going to add just a covering of color. And this will obviously just make it a little bit easier once we have applied the prosthetics and making them blend into the rest of our skin. And the benefits of using silicone is it is not only incredibly skin-like, but it moves like skin. So we want to keep that transparency to the prosthetics. Otherwise, we are not utilizing the material as best as possible. So I'm only going to be going in with a couple of colors. I'm going to be dipping into a slightly more burnt red color. It's going to be acting as just a little bit of blood underneath the skin. And you'll see, I don't like to spend too long pre-painting. Just like to add a little wash of color. If the 4 available skin tones do not match you perfectly, you can obviously go in with more alcohol paints and match them accordingly. Now, that's all I'm going to be doing as my pre-paint. You can obviously spend a lot more time. However, these prosthetics are a great match to my identical skin color. So once this is all fully dried, I'm going to start gently removing these pins very carefully because these edges are very thin. Once you're happy with the pre-painted prosthetics, it's then time to move on with preparing the skin. Now, obviously, it goes without saying, the first thing you need to do is shave and remove all facial hair. Once shaved, I like to take a cotton pad and some water and alcohol. And I just like to remove any oil that our skin may have produced or moisturizer that I have applied from earlier or the night before. This just makes sure that the glue is adhering to the skin as best as possible. I'm then going to take my silicone glue and thinner and just put a little bit aside in 2 separate pots so I have easy access to them throughout this entire application. We are now ready to apply our prosthetic. It will look something like this. Now, as they are laid out in the packaging, that is how they will be going onto the face. So this section that has this area, that is going to be what wraps around the outer corner of the mouth. And then as you can see, most of the volume is on the outer corner of this cheek. Now, this is a heavy piece, which does make it a little bit more complicated or fiddly to apply. However, just have the feel of it, figure out what's best, and do not rush the application process. The longer you spend on perfecting this, obviously the more realistic it will look throughout the wearing time. Now, this edge, this is the edge that will be going underneath the eye. Now, you can trim this or you can leave it on. I'm going to be trimming it purely so you guys can see a little bit better. I want to go right up against the outer edge so you're not removing that thin edge. Now that we have cleaned the skin, the prosthetic will already be clean. Now, you dissolve this with alcohol. You do not need to go near this with any acetone or anything like this. This is IPA activated. Right, I'm going to be using my large flat brush like so. And you can either apply this onto the skin or onto the back of the prosthetic. I like to put just a section like this onto the bulk of the back in the center. So when I place this onto my skin, it has something to adhere to. Once I've let that dry, I'm going to be applying the same amount of glue onto the surface of my skin. Carefully lining it up and making sure I do not place it directly onto my skin until I am happy. I'm now going to line up the prosthetic. Once happy, you can then start to ever so gently press that prosthetic onto the face. Now, you want to be careful when handling this prosthetic that you're not pulling or tugging on the corners. They are very thin and fragile, and that's what's going to be blending into the skin. Right. It's now time to start adhering the entire prosthetic. We're going to be working from the inner outwards and then making sure we take our time with the corners. So just picking up a little bit more glue, we're going to peel that prosthetic back. Again, making sure we don't tug down on the outer corners and just laying some glue down. Once we've got the bulk of it down, I'm going to try not to talk too much during this phase, but I'm going to go in with a slightly smaller brush and then make sure all the edges are glued down as well. Taking the IPA, which is the alcohol, we're going to start dissolving the edges. Now, this is the really fun bit, and this is where the prosthetic starts to melt into the face. Now, I'm going to be taking that on a brush like so, and just lifting up one corner at a time. You'll see, as you apply alcohol, ever so lightly, you don't need too much, the edge will start to peel away. Now, the main focus of this right now is just to remove the outer edging before we then go in and blend the edges further. So taking a cotton wool bud and a little bit more alcohol, I'm just going to drench that and I'm going to start rolling these edges off. So where you can see that there's still a little bit more product to be dissolved into the skin, I'm going to start making that really melt into the face. Once you're happy with this, I'm now going to further blend these edges using a little bit of Prosade cream and a stippling sponge. Now that the Prosade cream is dry, I'm just going to set that with a little bit of powder on the edges. I'm going to be taking some translucent powder. Any translucent powder that you prefer can be used. Now that the cheeks are applied, I'm going to add just a light speckling of colour across the entire face just to really marriage the prosthetics and my natural skin together before going in with little details, and then we are done with the application. You should then have something like this. This is what the prosthetics look fully applied. I'm going to now move on to apply some cosmetic makeup off camera and then show you the removal process, which I would encourage you guys to watch because again, I do not recommend that you tear them off like I do. That is done purely for visual effect and it is not recommended for safety purposes. Little bit of beauty makeup and we are done. So I'm going to take off this really beautiful hair and moogler and then show you how to remove the prosthetics the correct, safe way. I'm going to obviously leave the link again to this makeup remover in the description box below, but this is specifically designed for the silicone glue. Now I'm going to be taking this on the large flat paddle brush that we used earlier, and this is actually one of my favorite parts, which is removing it the correct way. Now what you want to do is just try and get underneath this prosthetic, and as soon as you have a hole like this, you can continue to work that makeup remover underneath. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it just dissolves that glue, meaning you're not damaging your skin by pulling it or tearing it off. Repeat on the other side, remove the entire cosmetic makeup that you have surrounding the prosthetics, and there you have a clean face. That is how to safely remove the prosthetics. I hope you guys found this video a little bit educational for those that were confused on how to apply the prosthetics and possibly learn how to apply prosthetics other than the Alexis X MFX Warehouse cheekbones, which are available via mfxwarehouse.co.uk. Again, all the links will be left down below. For those that aren't feeling as confident, MFX Warehouse obviously offer a huge variety of smaller prosthetics, which are obviously more cost efficient if you're wanting to experiment, which I would advise. For those that are wanting to broaden their special effects kit, all of the products used are essentials. I hope you guys found this helpful. Until next time, stay safe and I shall see you very soon.